I love the idea of the two Cybermen patrolling the space vessel for titular wheel in space and just causing nightmarish spookiness for the crew, sneaking up on the unsuspecting humans for fun, apparently, as well as some sort of malignant assimilation, perhaps. How grateful I am to even just have 2 episodes available for the wheel in space. If it was all reconstructions, I would almost certainly like it a lot less than I do. Or maybe I would like it more so, imagining what it would have been, filling in the gaps with some thoroughly wishful thinking indeed. The missing episode reconstructions, as composed from the telesnaps, present an interesting, possibly inherent metaphor for what Doctor Who was, at least in the black and white era, and throughout the classic run in general, maybe. All of classic Doctor Who, only the black and white era applies, so let's use that example for now. May as well be missing episode reconstructions, in a way. Why? This isn't to say that I wish they were all telesnap reconstructions, not at all. Quite the contrary, I would choose for them all to be available were I so omnipotent. But consider what Doctor Who is, as we rewatch it, versus what it was to a younger audience, particularly someone of a child's age during the original 1960s broadcast airing. There wasn't much to outside then. You stayed at home, rainy day, at night on the telly, in between the news reports and educational programs, you had Doctor Who. There's the Doctor walking around London, and hey, what's that creature thing there? That looks like an alien. Well, it doesn't look organic. But then doesn't that make it appear all the more alien, and, well, creepy, uncanny, frightening, impressionable? When appreciating Doctor Who, black and white Doctor Who, this era of classic Who, now, it is necessarily, at least when I am most appreciative of it, when thinking about when it would have been, what it would have been to a British audience, particularly an eager youngster, during that era of the post-war consensus. You had this program teasing of creatures which could sneak through into our world, elements which exist outside of empirical categorization, a professed exterior, the so-called weird phenomena. It isn't as though I'm appreciating Doctor Who now, these classic black and white episodes, as great gripping dramas, so much as I am admiring its place in the history, envying what it would have been like to take these serials seriously, and not appreciating them as expressionistic, imaginative, audacious attempts at some cosmic melodrama theatre, as I'm often wont to do. The appeal of the show was that, at one time, reality was decided by what the talking heads on a black and white television set would state. That was the voice of the state's knowledge. But just maybe, a flying, time-travelling, dimension-hopping police box was floating in and out of our plane of reality, our realm of living, and adjusting the surroundings to account for stray Daleks, Cybermen, Yeti, whatever we find ourselves dealing with, slipping through the cracks of consensus-set reality, invading with promises, implications at least, of something else on the outside, crawling in the outskirts, ready to be noticed. In an era of mass relativism, multiple, nigh-endless sources of media entertainment, and genre indulgence everywhere, unmonopolized, up the wazoo, why be a fan of geek genre fiction culture anymore? There's so many video games to play, you can't just see them all in a shop anymore. They're all digital and on several different platforms at that. Comic books are more of a mess than ever, and check online before seeing if the local shop will even get your issue in, and why buy issues when the TPB or Omnibus edition is on the way eventually, hey? Films are everywhere, not just at the cinema or video rental shop, but on several different streaming services. TV, live action and animated, forget it. One television, some channels, a nice theatre, some movies projecting, a comic book shop, some new issues, or maybe the video game shop, some new toys to play with. You have to understand what Doctor Who was at one time, and it is easy to extrapolate that feeling of it being so prime and important in a geek's discourse at one time, in the UK anyway, because it is imbued within the substance of the show itself. This isn't something one solely realises from reading history or anecdotal accounts, though it does help to be sure, though. But it can be gauged by viewing how the show itself operates. It knows it is primetime television entertainment, knows it will be impactful and creepy to younger children, and wanted to tease their imaginations of the outside via placing Yetis, Daleks, or Cybermen amongst those familiar locales. Everything feels fractured now by comparison. What audience is any program expecting to reach? Too many shows are writing and being directed with the reactions on Reddit or Twitter in mind. Pandering, unimaginative garbage. Oh, people are going to react this way. Oh, people are going to eat this joke up. but it reflects, and is pandering to, a culture which only exists for the sake of a consensual series of superficial agreements and affirmations, that is, social media as a whole, really. Then it was a broadcast, never necessarily to be repeated even, which projected the imaginative possibility stalking outside our otherwise cold, clinical, dull, explainably empirical reality itself. How could Doctor Who, or any program or work of art or fiction, hope to be so again? How could it? Question reality. There is more to it. And more to it than how it makes you look on a social media platform. More than what others' superficial, fashionable impressions of you will be, or what you want them to be, rather. Where depression is null, anhedonia wholly irrelevant, for the feeling of consciousness itself is quite enough. You don't even need sandwiches, cigarettes, alcohol, or perhaps even sex. Just an ability to recognize one's thought processes and observe, if possible, their surroundings. That is an ideal dimension, one we always hope for, even in the ages of consensus and conformity. Also, a strange, new, fabulous world with no more negative feelings, because with freedom and lack of danger, one might find bliss. Or is bliss attainable without the knowledge, the experience of contrasting pain, even? Doctor Who was a promise, an assurance, maybe deluded though, that there could be something outside the expectations of others to enjoying this existence. There might be, without rewards of sandwiches, cigarettes, or sex. It is harder to imagine. That's the biological prison, but it derives from its want to avoid suffering a great deal of pleasure, the biological experience. Oh well, maybe we subconsciously want to be Cybermen. K-Punk just wanted to be a Cyberman. Body without organs. Yeah, sounds about right. Not very Spinozan of me, perhaps, but let's lament this. What I want is happiness, assurance, peace, and excitement. The conflict between the latter two will never be totally resolved, but let's try anyway. Worth a go. Damn it, junk food is bad for us. This is inconvenient.